Hello friends, it's me, and today let's watch Food Theory. Stop drinking water. Yes, literally, from the food theorists. Wait, what? Okay, I guess let's watch the video, I guess. Thank you.
100% of people who drink 100% of people who drink water will die eventually. But with everyone obsessed with their water bottles these days and folks chugging more H2O than ever, I gotta ask, are we drinking too much?
It's like saying that 100% of all humans will die eventually. 100% of people that breathe oxygen will die eventually. Bro, seriously? Seriously?
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the show that's as crisp as a cold glass of water on a hot summer day. Speaking of water,
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory.
I don't know if you noticed, but society has become quite infatuated with drinking water as of late. Back in my day, you had a Capri Sun for lunch, a few sips of metallic water from the drinking fountain, and maybe, if you were lucky, you could drink out of the garden hose. That was your hydration for the day. But in the
And maybe if you're lucky, you get to survive and not die away.
past few years, water has gone from a boring drink to something you can't leave home without. You got Stanley, who made water bottles fashionable, air up pods in case your water's too bland, and everyone and their grandmother telling you, nay, ordering you to drink more water. At this point, it feels like drinking water has become more than just a basic necessity for living. It's kind of cultish. And I'm not talking about Liquid Death or Diet Coke kind of cult either. But I'd be lying if I didn't admit I was definitely a card-carrying member of the Can't Leave My House Without My Awala Club. Case in point, one evening, I was planning on taking Claudia out for dinner here in Miami. You know, good husband stuff, cause I'm a freaking legend. But before we could go, both of us had to, were compelled to make sure we had refilled our water bottles before we left the house. That's right, we both made sure we had 40 ounces of water on us each before we went to the restaurant. That serves water. It was at this point that I started to realize maybe I had let my desire to stay hydrated get a bit out of hand. But water is good for us, right? So this society-wide shift towards drinking more water must also be good, right? But what if we perhaps swung the pendulum too far the other way? Are we drinking too much water? I mean, how much water does a person actually need in a day? Well, like a tall glass of water, today I aim to get to the bottom of all those thirst-quenching questions. So pour yourself a cold one, loyal theorists, and fill it up to the brim with knowledge as we find out whether these emotional support water bottles are causing us to overhydrate. Let's start.
First, what do you think the end of this video will be like? But hey, that is just a theory, a food theory. Bottoms up. Right?
By wetting our whistles and asking ourselves, why is water so gosh darn special? I mean, as far as we know, water is not only critical for human life, but it's a prerequisite for life as we know it to exist. While the average person can, in extreme circumstances, go on for a few months without eating, if that same person went just 3 days without water, they'd be cooked. And almost literally. But why? Well, you see, it all comes down to the fact that water has some pretty unique chemical properties that end up being critical for some of our most basic bodily functions to even work. For example, water is what's known as the universal solvent, meaning that it's really good at dissolving other substances submerged in it. Better than any other liquid in the universe, actually. This makes water the perfect medium to dissolve all of the waste products our body produces, so that we can release them from our body in the form of urine. Not only that, but nearly every chemical reaction your body needs to do to keep you upright basically needs to happen in water. No water means no reactions, means no living. Water is also a great...
So case in point, if I'm not wrong, your urine color should be somewhere in between white to transparent, clear to yellow. Too yellow, not good. Too white, not good. Somewhere in between is average.
Lubricant. Grow up, guys, come on. It not only softens and cushions the spaces between our joints and vertebrae, but also keeps our vital organs like the brain protected too. Water is even used to help regulate our body temperature. You see, water is really good at holding onto heat. Therefore, when our bodies get too hot, that heat can be funneled into water and released outside of the body in the form of sweat, thus cooling us off. But water doesn't just make it so that we can survive, but thrive as well. Proper hydration has been linked to many a benefit that, while not critical for survival, ends up being the real-life real-life version of a stat buff. Tons of experiments, for example, have shown a strong correlation between proper hydration and brain function. Even tiny amounts of dehydration, sometimes as little as a few percentage points, can negatively affect memory, concentration, and even lead to increased feelings of anxiety. We talked about this a bit in a game theory we did a few months ago if you want to know more. But it's Tom. I understand if you don't want to. Proper hydration has also been shown to help stave off headaches, maximize your athletic performance, and even keep your poop chugging along. And the thing that keeps my sleep chugging along? Today's sponsor, Helix Sleep. Listen, I had my old mattress for 8 years.
What did I just did? What did I just do? I drank water. I literally went against what this video title is about. Stop drinking water. Yes, really. No, I'm gonna drink that water.
But it was just, it's time. I was waking up with back pain. Claudia was waking up with back pain. I was waking up with back pain. I know I said me twice, but I was waking up with a lot of back pain, all right? And shopping for mattresses is never fun. You have to go to so many stores because you keep getting kicked out for jumping on every mattress and bringing your own bowling ball and wine glass to recreate those old commercials. But then I heard about Helix Sleep, and let me tell you, it is the greatest thing I've ever slept on. And I've literally slept on a bed of marshmallows, which, not that great, but I digress. The Helix Sleep Quiz helps you find the perfect mattress for you. Personally, I'm a side sleeper and tend to run a bit hot, and Claudia sleeps on her stomach trying to smother herself every night while burning hotter than a neutron star. So I just put that information in and biggity bam, we get recommended the Midnight Lux mattress. This thing is amazing, okay? It's made me late for meetings because I can't say goodbye to it in the morning. I wrote and am literally recording this in bed. Best part is, no more back pain or shoulder creaking when I wake up. And even though the dying sun I call my wife still runs hot, it doesn't bother me anymore because I'm nice and cool over on my side. Trust me, it's time to say goodbye to your dingy old mattress and try out Helix Sleep for yourself. And if you use my link in the description below, you get 27% off site-wide and a free bedding bundle with any Lux or Elite mattress order. Thank you again to Helix Sleep for sponsoring today's episode. Now let's dive back in. All right, so the importance of...
Thank you so much for supporting the game tiers. Oh, sorry. Bleh, almost the game tier. The food tiers! Once again, thank you so much for supporting the food tiers in this video. Thank you so much.
Staying hydrated is as clear as, well, water. That was too easy. I know, I'll be better. So why don't we just constantly chug down gallons of water to keep our brains sharp and our joints from crickety crackling? Well, as it turns out, it is true that too much of a good thing can be bad. You see, your body can only handle so much new water at one time. For example, your kidneys, the organ responsible for filtering your blood and maintaining your body's fluid levels, can only handle around 1 liter or about a quarter gallon of fluid per hour. If you end up drinking much more than that, well, that water has to go somewhere, and that somewhere is into your cells. The reason why this happens is a bit complicated, but to put it simply, when you drink too much water, your body has too much water and too few electrolytes. You know, those minerals like sodium and potassium that you find in sports drinks, with Gatorade and Powerade being the prime examples there. But due to this imbalance of water and electrolytes, the excess water starts flooding into your cells and causes them to swell. And for those of you thinking, "Aw, sick, drinking too much water makes me swole?" Noise. No, not noise. While swollen calves and biceps might sound dope, you know what doesn't sound dope? A swollen brain. All of that water also flows into your brain cells as well. Being trapped inside of a thick skull, a swollen brain has nowhere to expand, and the increased pressure on your cranium starts to cause the early warning signs of water intoxication, including headaches, drowsiness, and confusion. And unfortunately, in some rare cases, people have died from too much water consumption. In 1995, a British teen died after reportedly drinking 1.8 gallons, or about 7 liters of water in a 90-minute period. In 2007, a woman in the...
Look, alright, that amount of water is understandable if you extend it a longer period. If you shorten the period, well, if you shorten the duration, things get lethal.
The US died after participating in a radio station contest that saw her drink nearly 2 gallons without going to the bathroom. And in probably the most heartbreaking example, an 11-year-old boy died in 2020 after he was allegedly forced to drink just 3/4 of a gallon of water in a 4-hour period. I bring those. But to show that too much water is a very real thing. And the amounts of water we're talking about are high, but not unfathomably high. Don't get me wrong, you'd have to intentionally go out of your way to drink these quantities of water. 1.8 gallons, the amount of water that killed that teen in the UK, that's the equivalent of about 6 40-ounce Stanley cups that she drank in 90 minutes. For the average person, that's not even remotely feasible to do by accident. But that's an average person, because there is a group of people out there who, by the nature of what they do, are surprisingly very susceptible to accidentally drinking too much water. And that's marathon runners. The people who are constantly losing water in the form of sweat while running. It may seem odd that they drink too much water, but as it turns out, it's the fact that they're sweating that's the problem. If you ever tasted sweat before, first off, gross. Second of all, you'll know that sweat is just like most of the League of Legends population. Incredibly salty. That means when marathon runners are sweating, they're not only losing water, but they're losing electrolytes too. Therefore, if they—
Oh, I got the burn! Ouch! 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 But that's clever though.
They then choose to rehydrate themselves by drinking pure water, they'll be in the same scenario we warned about earlier. Too much water, not enough electrolytes, swollen cells, and bad news. Circling back to the topic at hand, at this point, we know what happens to your body when you don't drink enough water and what happens when you drink too much water, both of which are no bueno. So the big question is, how much water should we drink? That turns out to be a pretty complicated question. The old adage that I and probably many of you heard growing up was that we were supposed to be drinking 8 8-ounce glasses of water a day. But where does that come from? And is it even accurate? After doing a little bit of digging, the consensus seems to be that the origin of this 8x8 rule is a paper put out by the US National Research Council and Food and Nutrition Board back in 1945. They said,
a suitable allowance of water for adults is usually 2.5 liters daily.
2.5 liters comes out to roughly 84.5 fluid ounces, which is way more than the 8 8-ounce glasses would get you. I don't know, man, this feels like one of those origin stories that doesn't really make much sense. But regardless of where it came from, the rule has definitely hung around, being one of the top answers people find when trying to figure out how much water they should drink. But is that enough? Is it too much? Well, let's look at this from a pure biological perspective. Every day, we're losing water from our sweat, our breath, our pee, and yeah, even our poop. On average, a person loses—
So case in point, just by existing, you are losing water. Now, the amount of water that you take in and the amount of water that you come out, is you get the point. If it's not balanced well, things get nasty.
Loses about 2.5 to 3 liters of water per day. So an estimate that we need to drink about 2.5 liters to make up that difference makes sense. Still, that estimate of 2.5 liters does come from, you know, the end of World War II. So let's look at some more modern water intake recommendations. In 2005, what is now known as the National Academy of Medicine put out their own guidelines that suggest males between 19 and 30 years old should consume about 3.7 liters of water per day, and females 2.7 liters. And that may sound like a lot, but there's fine print. That's the amount of total water consumption. As it turns out, not all of the water we consume during the day actually comes from drinking. Around 20% of your daily water intake surprisingly comes from the food you eat, not your beverages. When factoring that into consideration, the National Academy of Medicine says young adults should be drinking between 2.2 and 3 liters per day. Not only does that line up with the 1945 number, but also roughly with what the European Food Safety Authority also recommended in 2010. But then again, every source I looked into for this said that even those estimates are just that, estimates. Things like age, climate, sex, diet, and activity level all play a role in determining how much water an individual person might need to drink, and many of those factors can change from day to day. So we're no closer. And I guess that's the thing, right? Drinking water doesn't make you healthy. Actually, nothing does. When you really think about it, you don't become healthy. You make healthy choices. If you drink copious amounts of soda or Red Bull every day and you replace that with glasses of water, that's a healthy choice. The fact of the matter is, there's no magic formula or rule of thumb that I or any—
But as a general rule of thumb, in which for the general people, in which you don't have to do a lot of research, you just listen and you just do, alright? This is a very standard thing. Drinking water is good. It brings good outcomes. And it makes you the healthier choice. Water makes you healthier. Yeah.
anyone can give you to know how much water you need to drink in a day. There's just too many factors that make your body unique. However, you know who does know your body the best? Your body. You see, our fleshy meat sacks are super good at giving us the signs we need to know whether we're staying at the right level of hydration. One way to know it's time to drink water, and I know it sounds cliche, but whenever you're thirsty. Our bodies have evolved for millions of years to give us the signs. All we gotta do is read them. But if you're trying to figure out whether you're getting enough water in total, look no further than your pee. I'm serious. The color of your urine can actually give you a pretty handy guide as to whether you're properly hydrated. If it's
Oh my gosh, I mentioned this just now. It's like, if it's too yellowish, it's not good. If it's too transparent, it's not good. Somewhere in between is average.
as yellow as the food theory logo, then maybe you should be trying to fit in a few more glasses a day. On the other hand, if your pee looks like water, you might be having too much of the stuff. The ideal you're looking for in your pee is a nice pale yellow. If you're getting that on a consistent basis, then you're doing fine. And
Yeah, somewhere agar in between.
I think that's the biggest thing you should take away from this episode. You're probably doing fine. While I was researching for this, I ended up stumbling across this old clip from fellow handsome YouTube extraordinaire Dr. Mike that I think perfectly encapsulates how you should treat your water intake.
I like when patients take initiative and put a focused effort to make sure that they're well hydrated. But when you cross that line and it becomes something that causes anxiety in your mind, that could actually do more harm than good.
And if you think you're too emotionally attached to your bottle, don't. Carrying around your bottle, whether it's a small one or a 10-gallon jug, a Stanley, or an
Wait. Whatever that Dr. Mike just said, I'm gonna listen to it one more time because it is very important. The way that he communicates with the general audience, with his patients. Okay, I'm gonna listen to it one more time.
for this, I ended up stumbling across this old clip from fellow handsome YouTube extraordinaire Dr. Mike that I think perfectly encapsulates how you should treat your water intake.
I like when patients take initiative and put a focused effort to make sure that they're well hydrated. But when you cross that line and it becomes something that causes anxiety in your mind, that could actually do more harm than good.
And if you think you're
It's a good wise quote. And I'm gonna listen to it one more time. Yeah!
across this old clip from fellow handsome YouTube extraordinaire Dr. Mike that I think perfectly encapsulates how you should treat your water intake.
I like when patients take initiative and put a focused effort to make sure that they're well hydrated. But when you cross that line and it becomes something that causes anxiety in your mind, that could actually do more harm than good.
And if you think you're too emotionally attached to your bottle, don't. Carrying around your bottle, whether it's a small one or a 10-gallon jug, a Stanley, or an Awala, is not making you form a dependency. If anything, it is encouraging healthier behaviors in people. The fringe cases of water intoxication or overhydration are not going to shoot up in number because of fashionable bottles. But at the same time, if you find yourself forcing down those last chugs of water just because you want to make it to the bottom of your motivational jug, that's when you get yourself into more dangerous territory. At the end of the day, you need to listen to your body, not some adage from 1945, and definitely not some plastic bottle that honestly is a bit presumptuous about my daily schedule. So whether you're someone that knows they probably should drink more water but hasn't taken the steps yet, or you're someone like me who feels a bit naked whenever he leaves the house without his Awala, rest assured we're all still learning, and it's about making healthy choices, not magically becoming healthy. And to that I say, bottoms up. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Buen provecho. And if you're still thirsting for more water content, click the card on screen to see how one company turned the dumb idea of selling water in a can into a billion-dollar hydration empire. And as always, I'll see you next week.
Alright, thank you so much. And yeah, at the start of this video, I mentioned, what do you think the end of this video will be? Is it bottoms up or pressure? He said, oh my god, this is water. You could have just said bottoms up, brother. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bottoms up. Alright, subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you.